Welcome, everybody. You are watching On the Right Side, a weekly podcast live from the America First Warehouse. I'm David Zier with Real America's Voice News, and I have my co-host here, my cohort in crime, Stephen Levy, former Suffolk County Executive, former New York State Assemblyman, fiscal conservative, Democrat turned Republican. Steve, what's cooking?
Oh, man, it's so busy, David. I can't wait to jump into these issues. I'm licking my chops here. Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. The world is crazy. That's topic number one. New York, crime. Don't believe the numbers that you see, or hear about, because crime is up. And we're going to get into that. And we're going to start right now with a very important topic. And then we're going to get into Ukraine, which is which is at the top of the list today. But I wanted to talk about what's really going on in D.C. and New York. Trump steps in, asserts federal control over D.C., which he can do according to the Home Rule Act, right? Can't do the same thing in New York the same way. Can offer National Guard assistance, though, in an emergency type situation. What are your thoughts about what's going on?
Well, first of all, you hit it on the head, David. D.C. is different because it's a territory, right? It comes under the auspices and the umbrella of the federal government, and it was only as a courtesy that the feds allow the D.C. mayor and city council to do X, Y, and Z. People forget, those, Democrats and media would claim, what a power grab, et cetera, et cetera. It was the federal government decades ago that actually took over the finances of Washington, D.C. when they were on the verge of fiscal collapse. So they absolutely, unquestionably can do it. The question is, should they do it? Obviously, they should do it because D.C., standing on its own, if it were a state, would have the highest crime rate in the entire nation, and that's because their city council, just like New York's, crazy Marxists, out of control. As Judge Jeanine Pirro said, they've implemented these raise the age laws, which make it so that if
they can actually classify crime the way it should be.
well, these laws that they passed years ago said that if you're 16, 17, and in some cases up to 24 years old, and you're committing crimes, you're not going to be treated as an adult. So what do the gangbangers do? They say, hey, we're not going to go out there and do the dirty work. We'll get these 16 and 17-year-olds to do it, and we know if they're caught, they go to the family court route, they get a slap on the wrist, and as Jeanine Pirro says, ice cream socials. So these kids are going out there committing all this crime, the carjackings. Kids are getting killed as a result. Innocent people are getting killed. Trump is saying, enough, we're stopping this, thank God. The crime rate is already going down. Tell us about that, David.
And as we discussed last week, like 56% of the carjackings and all those arrested since 2023 in Washington, D.C. for carjackings are under the age of 18, some as young as 12 years old. 72% of those crimes getting committed with handguns. But now the D.C. police have, the union has come out and basically recognized, do you know that since Trump took federal control of D.C., that carjackings are down 83%?
And the Democrats are complaining about it.
Yeah.
This is a power grab. Kathy Hochul, the governor, the governor of New York was out there saying, this is a travesty. I will not send our National Guard over to Washington, D.C. But what did she do, David? Right before her election bid, she sent the National Guard from New York into the subway systems in New York to say, look at me, I'm tough on crime.
But now she doesn't want Trump to do it.
But Trump can't do it.
Well, I wanted to throw to a video. I was embedded with Trump up in Harlem at the bodega with Jose Alba when the year before he was charged with second-degree murder for defending his own store and his own life against an armed assailant. Wound up killing the guy, gets second-degree murder, serves 19 days at Rikers Island.
Thank you, Alvin Bragg, our crazy DA.
And thanks to public outcry, Alvin Bragg released release him and drop the charges. But Trump goes up there on day 2 of the trial. I was in the trial that day for the hush money. On day 1, I predicted on the air that he was going to be convicted because I saw the whole terrain and everything, and I was like, wow, he's screwed. But, you know, he took lemons and turned them into lemonade, going into Democratic territory on day 2 of the trial, goes up to Harlem. He's outside the bodega, and I asked Trump this question.
President Trump, what are the first things you're going to do when you take office to address the inner cities of America and give them hope to restore the American dream? Atlanta, New York, Philly, Chicago, D.C.
Come in and number one, you have to stop crime. And we're going to let the police do their job. They have to be given back their authority. They have to be able to do their job.
Yeah, and he went on for about a minute and a half, but, you know, he's keeping that promise.
Right.
And, you know, I also asked Lara Trump, you know, what is the GOP going to do when she was one of the first days she was a co-chair. I was down in Beaufort, South Carolina, and then again in Charleston with her later in the day. What are they going to do to address the minority votes in the inner cities as a GOP? But, you know, I asked Trump specifically about this. He's been laser focused on it. I wanted to add some New York City crime numbers if you have a minute. So they talk about how shootings and murders are down 20-30% in the city, but it's not really accurate. You know, in one day last week, there was 10 shootings in 6 hours. There was a 15-year-old murdering a 14-year-old with a knife in a Bronx playground. There was a woman beaten unconscious in Hell's Kitchen, attempted rape. There were 2 people shoved on the subway. There was a guy on a moped shooting at cops who was killed by the police, an illegal alien. More illegal alien crime. But in New York City so far this year, according to CompStat 2.0 from Monday, 47,000 felony and misdemeanor assaults on the streets of New York. Sex crimes are up almost 4%. Rape is up 21.6% for the year in New York City, and over 8,000 cars have been stolen.
And here's the other element, and this is what blows my mind when I see Democrats and the liberal media trying to say, oh, crime is down in Washington, D.C., et cetera, et cetera. Well, it is since Trump went in there, but they were trying to say that year to date it was down because of what they've been doing over there. Let's say that's true for a moment with the stats. Here's the problem, that if you go and ask a 23-year-old young lady who gets on the subway from Brooklyn into Manhattan every day, what's your perception of crime? It's not because of what they're hearing from the media that crime is up. It's their everyday experiences. And what is different now than what existed even like 10, 20 years ago is the craziness and the randomness of the crime.
Right.
These aren't captured in the crime statistics. You have crazy people, literal crazy people, who are on subway cars who are like these matches ready to be lit. They come up,
literally,
they intimidate you. They're nuts. They're out of their mind. And if you are a young lady or even, you know, a buff, you know, 28-year-old guy, you're saying, oh, my God, is this the guy who's going to throw somebody onto the tracks? It's the randomness of the crime, the homeless, the nuts on the street that is scaring the hell out of people, and legitimately so, and they won't put them away, though Trump is trying to stop that, and we can talk about that in another segment as to what he's trying to do with the homeless and the mentally ill. But go.
Yeah, and also remember Mamdani's plan with 40-something percent, a 47% disapproval rating, a 40% favorability rating right now, polling at 42% in the latest poll.
The candidate for mayor in New York.
You know, he's probably going to win the election unless something major happens. But he is losing support. And his plan was to put long-term health care options on the subway in the place of abandoned retail locations for homeless people, making our New York City, the largest subway system in the world, a homeless shelter.
Yeah, I mean, this is the difference. When Giuliani came in, he said, look, when you go up to the homeless people and say, we'll give you a place, okay, a place to go, but you can't stay here. You cannot take over a sidewalk with a tent, which you see everywhere now in every blue city. You cannot take over a part of the public park or that bench, the park bench, okay? We will give you a place, but you can't stay. It worked. We solved the problems. What did the Democrats do? They go hand in glove with the ACLU and say, no, leave them alone. They have rights. Yeah, they have rights, but they don't have a right to take over a city, a block as their own home. Giuliani got it. Trump gets it. And he's, through executive orders now, starting to clear out a lot of these places. And they're going to sue, but let it go to the courts. And I think we're going to win on this because the Supreme Court has already said that you cannot just take over a city block. So the way to battle crime is to first stop a lot of the mentally ill from just taking over subways, taking over sidewalks, and you'll see the rest of the dominoes fall.
Yes. Yeah, it's really interesting what's going to happen in November in New York City. But, you know, again, the D.C. Union already recognizing that Trump has made a difference down there. And then Janine Pirro weighed in about 20 seconds that, you know, they are not going to take away your long rifles and shotguns if you own them legally in D.C. She's basically maintaining that she's going to apply with the Supreme Court decision, already ruled on this, but also that most of or all of the guns that are used in crimes are illegal in D.C.
That a problem. It's the illegal guns. Hey, Dave, as we wrap up this segment, let us thank our sponsor, Sugar Creek Goods, okay? They're a small family-owned business based in Indiana, and they produce quality all-natural soap and sun-dry.
Smells good up here. It smells good.
All products are made in the USA by American patriots. So use the promo, the America First Warehouse. That's TAFW for a 15% discount. So check it out. They're our friends and sponsors. Help them. They help us. And come back with us. We're going to talk about Ukraine. We're going to talk about girls and boys' bathrooms and so much more. See you on the flip side.
Cocoa butter.
Corrupt judges, broken families, families torn apart. This isn't justice. If you've been wronged by the system, join us. Don't stand alone. Hi, I'm Gary Jacobs, president of Americans for Legal Reform. We're the oldest legal reform group in the United States. The justice system in the United States should be transparent, fair, and open to everybody and accessible. Unfortunately, many times that's not the case. At Americans for Legal Reform, we are here to help. Join the movement. Visit AmericansForLegalReform.com and help reform the system before it fails you.
Hi, my name is Elena Ruseva, aka Megalangela. Please check my art at www.megalangela.vip.
The America First Ultra MAGA Store. For all your MAGA needs. We sell t-shirts, tumblers, flags, hats, sneakers, bumper stickers, and a whole lot more. The most patriotic America First retail store. The America First Ultra MAGA Store.
The Queens Village Republican Club is America's oldest Republican club, founded in 1875. Situated in President Trump's hometown in Queens, New York, we are America First MAGA Republicans, empowering fellow Republicans to get involved in the game of politics at the grassroots level. We host inspiring monthly club meetings on the first Thursday of each month at 8 p.m. For more information, please go to our website at www.qvgop.org.
It's Tuesday here at the America First Warehouse. I am Joe the Box.
And I'm John the Blanket.
Freddie Rubino here from the America First Warehouse, coming to you live, the most patriotic venue in the land.
Welcome to Right for America.
I'm James Justice. We got Stephen Ruth over here. What are we doing, Steve? Fighting!
Welcome to Tune In Tuesday of the Patriots Podcast, live streaming every Tuesday night at 7:30.
Another edition of On the Right Side here, and you can catch us weekly, Wednesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern Time.
And welcome to Liberty's Cage, where we rip the veil off America's broken justice system, prisons that crush spirits, and a society that shuns people who have paid their price.
Well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Kevin Downey Jr. Podcast. Be free, stay free.
Welcome to Suffocating in Suburbia with me, your host, Stevie GB.
Welcome back. You're watching On the Right Side, the weekly podcast from the America First Warehouse. Go on x.com and visit America First WH, right?
I don't know, though. You put me on the spot,
I'm sorry.
David.
At America First WH on X, and go to the AmericaFirstWarehouse.com. We have such great events here. Thank you for joining us today. We got all kinds of
Who are
issues.
you?
I'm David Zier, Real
There you
America's
go.
Voice News. Steve Levy, former New York State Assemblyman, former Suffolk County Executive. So we're going to have some fun at the end of this segment or next segment. I put in my name with Real America's Voice News, and AI wrote a poem for me. And they wrote one for you.
You would just read it to me. That was
It's spot on.
mind-boggling.
It's scary.
Mind-boggling.
Everybody, Skynet is real. They're coming to take over. By the way, they're building an AI plant that's going to be fed by 50 megawatts of nuclear power.
Oh, you
This
mean
stuff is
we
scary.
can't run it on solar and wind? It won't work?
No, you can't.
You can, but when it's rainy like today, it doesn't work. That's the only.
You can't take over the world with wind power. But anyway, the poems are amazing. I read one that we did for the America First Warehouse talking about undergirders and steel and political paraphernalia is real.
How do they know this
How
stuff?
do they
It's
know this stuff?
remarkable.
Yeah, so anybody out there, put in somebody you love's name and then add a few keywords and they'll come up with a poem. It's granular. It's scary. But let's talk about what's going on in the Ukraine.
That's scary.
That is scary. That is scary. You know,
Maybe not for the long haul. Maybe there's some hope here, Dave.
in the middle of hope and some negotiations, Trump's incredible visit to Alaska, but even more incredible, the world powers coming under, sitting on the other side of Trump's desk in the Oval Office the other day, right?
You know what I want to talk about?
He's
with
talking
that?
to them all. It's amazing.
Do you remember how things are flipping so fast here, and then we'll get into the details. Remember that photo that the left just loved to spread out everywhere in Trump 1, okay, Trump 45, where Angela Merkel from Germany is leaning over. He's at his desk, and you have the European leaders around his desk.
Yeah.
And she's leaning over his desk, sort of like a school mom pointing finger at him, and they love to say, oh, she's in control over little old Trump, you know. And now you see, which was not true, but it was all manufactured, but now you see this photo of Trump in the office with all the leaders sitting in the chair around him. Whole different world, whole different attitude. Oh, thank you. We've had more progress in 3.5 weeks than 3.5 years. So say the Europeans. Unbelievable.
Yeah,
right?
it's a far cry from George W. Bush giving Angela Merkel a massage. Remember that in Europe at the
much
table?
information.
Does that make him misogynistic? I'm just asking. But anyway, so they're all sitting around the desk at the Oval Office, and Trump has this picture in the Oval Office of 5 regions under control by Russia. And I think it's helped him craft his thought process, according to reports that he references this map, and this map was on display during the thing. Just wanted to add that, you know, Russia has taken control of a 5th region, and the Donbas region, before the Russians invaded, was 16% of Ukraine's economic output. And now they range from 99%.
With a lot of minerals.
A lot of minerals, and now we had a lithium site that was captured, which isn't really that important in the long run for the world, but it's still important. It might affect the mineral deal U.S. did. I just wanted to add really quick, Steve. Russia controls 99% of Luhansk, 76% of Donetsk and Donbass, 73% of Zaporizhzhia, and Kherson in the southeast, and 4% of Kharkiv. You know, they have significant terrain.
Well, look, I think the Europeans and even the Ukrainians now are getting real that if you want some kind of a settlement, it's going to involve some kind of land giveaway. And at first, you know, when Trump was first starting to pose this concept, everybody was saying, ridiculous, no way, it rewards the aggressive. Maybe it does to a certain extent, but you also have to be real. And now I think the Ukrainians, who a couple of years ago, when asked, would you go for a settlement or do you require total victory? Back then it was like, you know, 80-20, we want total victory. Now they're tired and they're realizing, look, we're running out of troops, we're running out of money, we want to get this thing over with. They're willing, I think, to go with some kind of land concession. And you don't have to do that, but if you're not going to concede some of that land, you got to be ready to go another 5-10 years at wiping out their population. So I think it's par for the course now. Some of that is going to happen. The question is, are they going to feel secure with the remaining 80% staying in Ukrainian hands and that we'll have their back? That's the key. They have to feel that.
Well, there's so many dynamics at play. You know, this started really under George W. Bush, and especially in Georgia, which is a neighbor over there.
At the tail end, as Bush was going out the door, Putin says we're going into Georgia, and nothing happened.
Yeah, and then also, you know, a movement
Crimea,
in
remember,
Ukraine,
in 2014.
and Crimea under Obama, and then going in again under Biden. Crimea is off the table.
Never to Trump. Never under Trump.
Remember, this has always been about, and this is why the Soviets wanted a foothold in Nicaragua. We're building the runway in Grenada with the 700 Cuban mercenaries back in '83 before Reagan exercised the
They
Monroe
wanted to
Doctrine.
reestablish the Soviet
took it out.
Union.
They need a warm water port.
Yeah.
They wanted South Africa while Nelson Mandela was in jail. There's only 3 deep water ports, the deepest ports in Africa. 2 of them were one was in Durban and one was the Cape of Good Hope, or in Cape Town. And the Soviets put Joe Slovo, who was a white guy, was head of the South African Communist Party, in control of the African National Congress while Nelson Mandela was in jail. And that's what Americans don't know. They think the ANC is this lovely group, and it's not. They were banned by Congress as a terrorist group in 1986. So the Soviets have always had a quest for warm water ports.
That's why they wanted Crimea.
Is not negotiable for them, at least Crimea.
What are you saying is not negotiable?
The Black Sea and Crimea is not negotiable with Ukraine, with the Russians, you know, with the Russians. They are staying in Crimea. Even though 30% of their Navy has been wiped out, with the help of NATO and the U.S. In this war.
Well, that's why I think it could actually be a victory for the West and Ukraine, even if you give away some of that land. Because if you had said at the beginning of this war, where, remember, our own U.S. intelligence agencies would say, in 3 weeks, Kyiv is gone, the Russians have it. If you would have said back then, hey, we can solve this thing, Ukraine will lose 20%, but Russia will lose like 1 million people, have their Navy and their Air Force and everything else really debilitated, and then weaken significantly. Would you go for it? We probably would say, yeah, I don't think this is a victory for Russia. If they, at the end of this, could only get 20% of Ukraine with such decimation, and more importantly, David, an exposing of the fact that they're not this big Goliath. I think Ukraine wins in that case. I think the West wins, and it does send a message to China and other adversaries that we will come together and defend our allies.
Well, I got to say, you know, Ukraine is on the precipice of losing that war.
Yeah, they're running out of people.
And Russia is kind of reamassing. I was very disturbed, as many people were, to hear about the 92 or so drones, many of which were shot down, injuring another 14 people right after that summit at the White House took place. You know,
he's lost hundreds of thousands of people, but he doesn't care. He's getting help from the North Koreans. They're giving their lives.
And the
These
Chinese.
people, there's no value on life, so they'll keep going. And it's amazing. I mean, the ratio of Ukrainians killed to Russians has been overwhelmingly Russian, but Ukraine is so much smaller, and they don't have that many more fighting age men to go to the front line. So at some point they're going to be exhausted, which is why the Trump plan is the only game in town. And I think they're starting to get it now. The question is, will Russia come to be real? And thanks to Trump, it's happening, because it was really Trump's tariffs against India that really brought them to the table. Because when Trump said, hey, India, we're yanking you up to 50% tariffs if you continue to buy their oil, all of a sudden that hit the pocketbook of Putin, and now we might have a deal. Perhaps. I'll believe it when I see it, but...
Yeah, and remember, Trump did the same thing to Pakistan during that Indo-Paki, recent exchange with fighter jets and terrorist bombings in each country. So, all right, what remains to be seen is, was this one of Putin's last throws of drones at Ukraine? Because if he continues it, all cards are going to be off the table. What do you think?
Yeah, well, everybody's asking, and rightly so, okay, how much rope are we going to give them? You had a deadline, and now you're in talks, so you don't want to impose the sanctions while you're in talks. But at some point, there has to be a deadline.
Even if there isn't a ceasefire, because Trump wants to go right to a peace deal, and other people are saying, no, we need a ceasefire agreement, especially in Europe. But Trump doesn't want to do that. And
which is okay if you have a short timeline.
Right. But what happens?
You can't let Putin stretch you out.
What if he launches another 1,000 drones in the next week?
Yeah, at some point you got to say enough. So you can go either way. You can say we want the ceasefire first or we want the deal first. Either one of those, it has to be within, you got to give 30 days. We're either going to get this thing settled in 30 days, because a lot of people can die in 30 days. If not, the double sanctions come on, and we give them all the equipment they need, not just defensive, but offensive as well, and then it's game on.
Yeah, and let's see if, in fact, there's going to be a meeting. They're going to meet in, Eastern Europe, potentially?
Yeah.
So
I would have hoped that Trump would have been involved as a middleman between the two. Very, very peculiar to have Zelensky and Putin meeting one-on-one without that intermediary. It's a bit bizarre, but we'll see if it works.
Yeah, but I thought they wanted trilateral talks.
Well, Trump has been saying the two of them are going to meet without him first, and he'll close the deal. I hope he gets in there in the middle right away.
All right, everybody. Thank you for watching On the Right Side podcast. We're coming to you live from the America First Warehouse just outside of New York City. This place is incredible. Thank you, Joe the Box, and the incredible staff here at the America First Warehouse and our production crew today. I'm David Zier. He's Steve Levy. We'll be right back.
Who broke the television?
Can we laugh at that? Sounds a little mean.
As of this week, public gay sex will now be mandatory.
Am I the only one that could see his lips move?
Cheekbones, baby.
I'm sorry, maybe I overreacted.
Corporate transfer, fine professional, moving and storage, and inventory management.
Welcome, everybody, to the Not So Newlywed Show, where three couples are going to compete for really great prizes. Okay, Donna, we asked Mike, who complained first on your honeymoon, you or him?
What do I think?
Yeah, what do you think?
I think he said.
Lisa, this ain't the SATs. Just tell us who do you hate the most on her side? That rotten no.
There are so many choices.
Thank you all, and thank you for coming out.
Hey, fellow patriots, it's Cindy Gross here, host of Right for America from your favorite place, the America First Warehouse. You've seen me show on my show so many products from this country's #1 most patriotic manufacturer with close to 400 products. You need to exchange the products you use in your house to this company and make your dollars count in our country.
It's me, Joe the Box, the America First Warehouse, most patriotic venue in all the land.
The America First Warehouse, a beacon for all to see, a symbol of unity. For the patriots of America, we stand tall and free. In the America First Warehouse, where our hearts will always be.
All right, we're back. Boy, that was a quick break.
Yeah.
I wasn't ready for it. Steve Levy here, from the America First warehouse on Long Island. But we do national news that we welcome you all in to join us every Wednesday at 2 o'clock live. I'm a former New York State Assembly member, Suffolk County executive. I'm a contributor to Newsmax and the executive director of the Center for Cost-Effective Government. And to my right, I guess maybe both figuratively and literally, I don't know, is David Zaire, who is a host at the Real America Voice.
Real
has
America's
his show,
Voice, yeah.
Breakout on Saturday morning.
Breaking Point.
Breaking Point, Breakout, okay.
8 a.m.
There you go. And boy, we're talking about so much stuff. So we just finished talking about Ukraine for a whole segment. Let's get into a crazy, crazy story, man. These boys are in a bathroom in Virginia, okay? High school or middle school, one or two. A girl who's transitioning to be a boy is in their locker room, all right? So one of the boys is saying, what's going on here? We find out later that the girl is videotaping the boys in the boys' bathroom. The boy complains about it, David. He gets suspended as harassing, or at least disciplined, as harassing the girl transitioning to be a boy who videotaped boys in the boys' bathroom. What the hell is going on in some parts of our country? But this isn't unusual. This is that Virginia area, the same crazies that went after that father who was trying to defend his daughter who got sexually assaulted by a boy in a girl's bathroom, and you were there.
Yeah.
Tell us about it.
I covered that for Real America's Voice News in Loudoun County, Virginia. I was down there when the parents met, along with Winsome Sears, the lieutenant governor who's running for governor, a very close race. We're going to get into that right now in a little bit. But, you know, they're crazy down there in Loudoun. It's a purplish area. You know, they're all about this issue. And these students face 10-day suspensions for what they did. Now, first, the board of that other high school hid the assault.
We're talking about the one a couple of years ago where the girl was assaulted by the boy in the girl's bathroom.
Yeah. And
pretending to be
They knew the kid had a record.
a girl.
And they hid it. The father shows up, gets basically taken out in cuffs on all fours, right?
And he wasn't
He
out
didn't
of
do
control.
anything wrong, no.
I mean, he was mad. Imagine how mad you would be if your daughter was sexually assaulted by a boy who had a previous incident that they hid.
Yeah, and also when he went to another high school, they sent him to another high school, this kid, and he did it again.
Yeah.
And so the whole thing is outrageous. But these kids, right, there's a Title IX investigation going on right
but
now?
more, let's remember, because this ties into a whole lot of other stuff. It was that event that triggered the DOJ under Biden, okay, the Department of Justice under Biden. They started to, a whole segment within the DOJ to start investigating parents around the country as being what? Potential terrorists, David. So they had a whole unit investigating parents who were upset about the wokeness at our school boards, and they now had a target on their heads from these crazies in the Biden administration. And Dave, this is one of those 90-10 issues. It's not even a 70-30 issue. It's a 90-10 issues that the Democrats have just dug their heels in, and they won't give it up because they're so controlled by this, by this lobbying effort by the trans community. And by the way, the people on the other side, they're not against trans people. Live and let live, okay? But this is about kids. This is about kids losing their privacy in bathrooms, about girls who just want to play sports, not against biological males. But you think they would have learned from the 2024 election, David? They're doubling and tripling down.
Yeah, but so basically these teen students are being suspended for, appearing on a recorded video questioning why this female who identifies as a male was in the boys' locker room. They didn't do anything wrong.
No, know.
And there was no violations about the recording because you're not allowed to record in locker rooms by law, but there was nobody in compromising positions. So it's not a big deal. You didn't have people naked running around or anything, you know. So
And when I go into a locker room or a bathroom, I expect not to. I have a right of privacy, expectation of privacy that someone's not going to be recording me there. Unbelievable.
It's a very confusing case, but you know, people are sick of it. And you would think with Trump in office that this stuff wouldn't be happening anymore. But the schools are still very liberal. The individual states are fighting back against, you know, the anti-woke agenda. And this is what's going on. Loudoun County, Virginia, very, very liberal.
Well, speaking of Virginia, we got a governor's race going on over there, right? And you got an African-American lieutenant governor under Youngkin named Sears. Okay.
Yeah, Winsome, former U.S. Marine.
Right.
An anti-Trumper, by the way.
I know she's an anti-Trumper.
She was last year.
I don't know.
I heard
didn't
her
get
make
that impression.
terrible. I heard her make terrible remarks against Trump.
She wasn't like a full force MAGA, but
no.
Okay, all right, but on the other end, you have Abigail Spanberger,
former congresswoman from the 7th district, I think.
Was at one point high in the polls. Now
she
it's
was
tightening.
leading by 13. There is a poll that shows Winsome Sears is within 3.
Is this a bellwether? You know, interesting. A lot of Democrats say, "Oh, look, this shows we're going to clean up in the midterms." It's really hard to tell what's going to happen.
Listen, I still haven't been able to get over when Winsome Sears was ripping apart Trump a couple of years back. So,
hey, but would you
for
rather
me,
have
it's very
Sears
hard.
or would you rather have
I'd rather
the
have
Democrat?
Winsome Sears, but you know, so it's like, okay, so now what do you got?
Don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. Remember that.
So
folks.
tomorrow on Breaking Point, I'm recording for a Saturday show at 8 a.m. this Saturday. Download the Real America's Voice News app. I have the Lieutenant Governor, gubernatorial candidate John Reed, who's been really good because, you know, he's been critical of what's going on in Richmond and crime. And one of the worst experiences of my life was at the Greyhound station at 11 o'clock at night a couple of years ago when Mayor Stoney, who's a Democrat, under Youngkin's leadership, on rule as governor, who's a Republican, and doing a good job as governor. But I was at that Greyhound station, and I had to walk around with a taser in my hand because as I'm going in there at the Exxon station next door, a woman with no pants on and a fur coat was walking across the parking lot in 20-degree weather. She was a prostitute.
What did we say about the mentally ill, right?
And then a car pulled up and put the hood up, and that was a sign that he was the local heroin dealer, and everyone lined up at his car. And then the gas station owner told me he was robbed at gunpoint the night before.
This is Cincinnati?
This is Richmond, Virginia.
Oh, in Virginia.
I used to live there, and you know, it was such a disgrace up by the Arthur Ashe Stadium up in Richmond, Virginia. So the point is I'm going to talk to John Reed because he's big about this stuff and cleaning up Richmond, which also had all these statues taken down after 2020 and after George Floyd. And what a disgrace, because the streets of Richmond were some of the most beautiful in the world. And I used to go to that Easter parade every year, and they knocked down all the statues. They graffitied everything. And now they want to transport the statues to California, which is a lawsuit preventing
He's lieutenant governor, but he's not in the mix. It's Sears who's the nominee.
So Sears running for governor.
Is he on her ticket?
Right. So there is an attorney general, a gubernatorial candidate, Winsome Sears, and the lieutenant gubernatorial candidate, John Reed. Now, there was friction between John Reed and the current governor, Youngkin, but they came together, and now he's been campaigning for John Reed. So make sure you watch Breaking Point 8 a.m. Saturday to get all the dynamics.
They have two terms and then a limited out. So you have a lot of turnover over there in Virginia. And you're right, it's a purple state, but I feared it was really going solid blue because, you know, who lives in these outskirts of D.C.? All of the bureaucrats who tend to be liberal in D.C., and they left D.C. because it's so crime-ridden and the schools suck. So they go out to the suburbs, and what was once a red state is now
but the
purple,
D.C.
but
people
I think more blue.
turned it blue and purple. And by the way, the governor of Virginia can only serve one term, which I think is crazy.
That's right. That's why it's so fast.
It's crazy. But look at Northern Virginia; it's all blue.
Right.
And all these bureaucrats who are supposedly like, what do you do? I'm in D.C. all the time. Like, I meet people in bars. What do you do? And they're rich, you know. Oh, I'm an accountant. Well, what do you account for?
Yeah,
for the government. Yeah. So, but they don't work for the government. They work
They're
for these
all
like
on
NGOs.
the dole in some way.
They're all on the dole. house used to be $200,000 in Alexandria. Now it's $1.5 million. You can't touch anything for under $900,000.
They're making big bucks in this government industrial complex.
Like a big vacuum sucking the blood out of America.
You know, the midterms, I have different feelings every day, day to day. One day I'm thinking, you know what? If we just keep along this process here, where the border is closed, people start seeing more money in their pockets, gas remains low, though grocery prices are still very high and housing is still very high, all right? But if we're getting back to a sense of normalcy where the woke is getting knocked out of our institutions, will people say, I like where we're going, and buck the trend, which is usually, let's face it, folks, when you go into the midterms, the party that's in power at the White House gets shellacked. And it's almost a given with a few exceptions here and there, one being in Clinton's second term and in Bush 2, in 2006. But for the most part, we'd be looking at a bloodbath. So, which way are we going to go? What do you think in 30 seconds?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's a good answer. I don't know either. Too much can happen, right?
Yeah. We'll see where all this goes. By the way, when we come back, I've got those 2 poems written by AI, by OpenAI. Everybody, Skynet is real. They're going to take over because they just wrote these 2 pretty accurate poems about David Zier and Steve Levy here at the America First Warehouse. Pretty scary stuff.
Oh, I'll tell you. It's amazing. You just put this in.
I just put it in, and it came up.
It's an elaborate thing that's so accurate. It's unbelievable. I was in Israel.
They said I was good looking, and I was funny. No.
Well, obviously, it all depends on garbage in, garbage out kind of thing. But listen, folks, stay with us. We got one more segment on the Right Side podcast. We'll see you in a few
Comedian
seconds.
over here.
The America First Ultra MAGA Store. For all your MAGA needs. We sell t-shirts, tumblers, flags, hats, sneakers, bumper stickers, and a whole lot more. The most patriotic America First retail store. The America First Ultra MAGA Store.
Are you a musician, comedian, actor, filmmaker, or artist who stands for traditional American values? Do you believe in the preservation of our nation, our culture, and our freedoms? If you share our passion for America and want to use your talents to make a difference, we want to hear from you. Our mission is clear. Through the arts, we uphold the principles of freedom, faith, family, and the American spirit. It's time to step up to the mic and make your voices heard. So contact us at AmericanConservativeArtists.com.
Good morning. It's me, Joe the Box, wearing my Border 911 hat signed by Tom Holman, Rodney Scott, and Sarah Carter. The country has had enough. The American Horror Story is over. Border 911. Tom Holman is coming through. My brother's son, my friends' children. We're done with it. 100,000 were lost lives every single year. God bless you, Tom.
The Queens Village Republican Club is America's oldest Republican club, founded in 1875. Situated in President Trump's hometown in Queens, New York, we are America First MAGA Republicans, empowering fellow Republicans to get involved in the game of politics at the grassroots level. We host inspiring monthly club meetings on the first Thursday of each month at 8 p.m. For more information, please go to our website at www.qvgop.org.
America First Warehouse was really the most patriotic venue that you can ever imagine. We wanted to build something for people to be able to come to and feel so comfortable and so relaxed, because there is nothing out there like it. We give an opportunity for people to really feel good about themselves and about this great country.
All right, we're back, guys. You're here with the On the Right Side podcast, our final segment of the day. Join us every Wednesday, 2 p.m. live. I'm Steve Levy, the former Suffolk County executive, New York State Assembly member, and the executive director of the think tank, Center for Cost-Effective Government. Also here with me is co-host David Zare from Real America Voice.
Yeah, Real America's Voice. Download the Real America's Voice News app on your phone today. Can I read these poems?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Good thing you said that, because I was going to go into other stuff. This is amazing. We talked about last segment.
So when you go to OpenAI and you put in like 2 or 3 keywords, so I put in Steve Levy. I forgot what else I wrote. I think I wrote county
Great
executive.
Guy? Oh, okay.
I didn't say great guy,
Handsome
but they
devil?
said you're a great guy.
Okay.
So this is what they came up with in a millisecond, right? In some underground bunker in like Abilene, Texas, or wherever they're doing this stuff out of, right? So they wrote a poem for Steve Levy called The County's Ledger, Ode to Steve Levy. That was their title. That was AI's title for you. I didn't tell them anything about that, right? In halls where budget papers flew, a leader paced with cost in view. Suffolk's books, both thick and wide, he sought to trim with county pride. Not chasing fame nor lofty praise, he counted cents through fiscal haze. This is Steve Levy we're talking about next to me.
A fiscal conservative, that's what it was known
A
as.
Democrat turned GOP. They found that they figured that out, right? A Democrat turned GOP, still preaching thrift and agency. No golden frills, no bloated schemes, but streamlined plans and leaner dreams. He asked not what can we expand, but where can we cut with steady hand. Then came a shift, a private stand.
Democrat.
He launched a group to guide the land, a think tank born with mission clear. Spend smarter now and year to year. The center rose, its mantra set, cost-effective governance, not debt. In memos, talks, and policy, he chased the ghost of wasteful spree. So whether praised or met with doubt, one truth remains in budget's bout. The ones who watch where dollars roam might keep the taxman far from home. They wrote that for you in 1 millisecond.
Just by gleaning what's on the internet about what I've done, they knew directly that I was known as a fiscal conservative.
Yeah.
I was a Democrat turned Republican.
Yeah.
I formed a think tank on behalf of taxpayers.
The Center for Cost-Effective Government.
Amazing.
I didn't tell him that.
What's yours? What's yours?
What's my what?
Your poem.
Oh, my poem. So I put in my name in Real America's Voice. This is another one. I did it twice. The first one was better, but
Well,
they
you're
wrote
only
this.
reading one. We don't have enough
On
time.
airwaves bold and screens aglow, a voice stands firm through highs and low. With steady gaze and questions clear, the truth is near when Zir is here. He walks where history leaves its mark, from city halls to parks gone dark. He speaks for those who've lost their way and lights a path to a brighter day. On breaking point, he dares to dive where facts and freedom still survive. Through storms of spin and shallow cheer, he cuts the noise, the truth draws near. From boardrooms built on local grit to battlefields where heroes sit, his words are more than just a stance. They give the truth a second chance. So raise the mic and let it ring, for voices free and truth that sting. In David's stead, we find our choice, a patriot's calm, unwavering voice.
I'm telling you, I'm in trouble because I'm a speechwriter. And these guys, speechwriters are out of business.
They outspeech me.
Oh, my
any day.
God.
Yeah.
Can you imagine
This is
that?
AI.
It's like, Stephen Miller and these other guys who are writing Trump speeches, just put it into AI and see what spits out.
I
It's
have
incredible.
contractors on the job site. I'm in construction.
Yeah.
And I think they're giving me quotes from AI.
I
They're not
might
even
be.
doing takeoffs of the plans anymore.
Just remember, if you're a lawyer and you go to AI and cite a case and it's not accurate, you're getting disbarred. That actually happens. So,
Yeah.
okay to use AI to give you a sense of what's going on, but you better do your research and follow up
They're
on it.
taking over,
They
people.
are.
They're taking over.
All right, speaking of, they nailed it as far as I'm concerned that, now I'm running this think tank, Center for Cost-Effective Government. And one of the things that we did a white paper, and go to centerforcosteffectivegovernment.org, our website, and hit white papers. And you'll see all of our white papers. We've done white papers on how overtime for municipal workers is blowing pensions to the roof. We did one on how Social Security is running out of money and what we can do to save it. We did one just recently on Medicaid and how that's exploding out of control. But we did one last year on voting integrity. And boy, did we not uncover, but we, talk about in detail how we should all be very fearful of mail-in voting. And President Trump this week signed an executive order, not that he has much power to do anything with an executive order, but I think it's more symbolic than anything else, David, where he's saying mail-in voting, it's got to go. Now, I'm the first to say that he does not have the power to say it has to go, and I'm not even saying you can't use it to a certain degree. But we've got to monitor this. This was a ploy starting with COVID, where Democrats were now able to flood the electorate with all of these ballots out there. And this is the problem. It's not so much that you had a mail-in ballot, but it's the way they did it. They started mailing to everyone, whether you asked it or not. So you now have more ballots than voters out there.
Yeah.
Now they combine it with ballot harvesting that allow their operatives, paid operatives, to go to the apartment complex or the nursing home, knock, knock. Hi, we're here. Here's your ballot. Why don't you fill it out and we'll take it back from you? That used to be illegal everywhere. Now it's legal in many states, and they're trying to nationalize this. And then they look at it, and if they like it, they keep it and they send it in. If you voted for the wrong guy, they put it in the trash, whatever. But with the mail-in ballot now, you sign it, you send it back, but illegal aliens are now being registered to vote because in some of these states, like New York, you get, it's almost automatic that you go to the DMV and you're getting a registration
with nothing,
form.
with no paperwork.
And a lot of these people are getting registered. So now you're an illegal alien. You get the ballot mailed to you. What do you know? You're filling it out. You're sending it back. More than that, at the same time in 2020, David, they eviscerated the standards for verification, where it used to have a signature on the ballot had to be matched to the signature that was back in the Board of Elections. They don't do that anymore in many of the states. They've come through with this. Assume that the signature is valid. If you're going to do it, Florida has it right. You have to put the last four of your social on it or your driver's license, and there they don't give it to illegals. But Trump is right. This is a problem. This is why we're the only Western democracy that has this mass mail-in balloting. Europe doesn't do it because they say it's so risky. It was Jimmy Carter in his commission in 2005 who said it's the greatest risk to election integrity.
Yeah,
So
Trump
good for the president.
wanting to go back to paper ballots and other things. But, I was on a campaign trail in Wisconsin. People came up to me. It was like a 105-degree day. I was on the tarmac, I think in Kenosha, Wisconsin. And people were coming up to me saying that their parents, one guy came up to me, he said that, and there was a story about it at the time. It was just, it must have been a big deal there because they were registering seniors to vote in the nursing homes for ballot harvesting, but they weren't, even people who had guardianship by their kids. So this guy came up to me and said, my mother voted for Joe Biden in 2020.
And didn't know it.
And he said it's impossible. I assumed guardianship over my mother the year before.
She didn't have capacity to vote.
She wasn't allowed to. And, this is what's going on. So then you had years ago in California, remember in the midterms for Congress, you had like 9, I think, counties that were like overturned, right? Guys walked in a day later with bags and bags of absentee ballots and ballot harvested ballots. And then you had Minneapolis, where you had them caught on video selling ballots for, $300 a pop?
Yeah. Don't buy the garbage from the Democrats, but more importantly, you expect it from the Democrats, but the media saying this was the safest election ever in 2020. It was the worst election ever. And that's because of these mail-in ballots and how they diluted the veracity of the signature processes and everything else. And
in the guise of COVID.
Right. And if you want proof of that, go to my website and get the white paper on election integrity. And you'll see this one provision where we cite an experiment that was done by a journalist, Victor Yokes, in Nevada, who had gotten 9 ballots together and signed the name in his penmanship, it went to the Board of Elections, and 8 of the 9 were accepted with bogus signatures. That'll tell you.
And what's your website where people can get that?
CenterForCostEffectiveGovernment.org.
All right. Well, we have about a minute left. Really quick, Pritzker allowing illegals
talking
to
about
vote.
illegals voting, okay? Pritzker's giving money to illegal aliens within Illinois.
Wants to give them financial aid.
Financial aid to the colleges. So not only are they letting them in to their state schools. If you go to a private school, that's the private school's business.
Yeah, they want to pay
But a
for it.
state school is not even checking to see if you're a legal immigrant or not, so that you can take the seat away from a citizen.
And
okay?
ICE has issued 1,600 detainers in Chicago, and they've only cooperated in 8% of the cases with Homeland Security.
Well, you know, next week we have to have a whole segment on sanctuary cities, because thank goodness that the president and Pam Bondi are going after them from a legal perspective, saying these sanctuary cities
Right.
are
You're saying there
illegal.
could be decisions soon?
Well, it's not going to be soon. You'll see the decisions in the lower court. It'll take a while to get up to the
Okay.
Supreme Court. But listen, they are aiding and abetting and shielding illegal aliens in these local jurisdictions from the federal government. That's why I think it's illegal. That's why Trump thinks it's illegal. That's why Bondi thinks it's illegal. And let's hope our courts agree. David, wrap it
All
up.
right, everybody, thank you for joining us. You're watching On the Right Side podcast from the America First Warehouse. Go to the AmericaFirstWarehouse.com. Check out all the exciting things going on here. Steve, you can follow me on Real America's Voice News. Download the Real America's Voice News app. And my show's 8 a.m. Saturday. Steve?
Yeah, follow all of my writings. I just had an article published today in the Boston Herald on Medicaid, but you can go to stevelevy.info and catch all of my stuff. And again, look at Newsmax, where I'm a regular insider, and the Center for CostEffectiveGovernment.org.
All right, set your alarm clocks, 2 p.m. every Wednesday here at the
Wednesday
America
at
First
2.
Warehouse. Thanks for watching.
Bye.